think Molly curated a playlist that all has to do with sun or sunshine or whatever. And I'm trying to take 7 songs and each day like dive a little bit into the lyrics and correspond it to an insight that's yogic, right? And so one of them, there are multiple ones. I'm not going to tell you which songs I'm picking, but there's some themes that are great. You know how I don't know if if you don't know this about me, I'm way into lyrics and music. So when words are buoyed by melody, I hear them way deeper. So if you notice about song lyrics, if you then you just read them on the page, you go, oh, right. But when you hear them with the way they're sung and with the melody underneath, they actually are transformative. Like one of the songs, Judy, that you had talked about that I've been listening to and smiling at is Summer Hot by Curtis Mayfield. That's a good groove to get the groove on, right? But one of the themes about one of the things that I don't like about how often someone that's trying to rally someone into yoga and to practice more yoga, they kind of give the impression that yoga, if you practice it and you practice asana, it's all like sunshine and bunnies. It's all duckies and bunnies, and your life's always better, right? And anyone that's practiced yoga over time knows that there are good and bad times, right? You go through times where practice is harder and there is shade and sunshine. So in the course of these audio teachings that'll be coming, it's like to recognize that no, you don't just you can step in the sunshine right away in your asana practice and it can feel better. But the longer you practice, you know that it ebbs and flows, except yoga and asana is always there waiting for you, right? And there's very rarely for me I've been practicing since 1991. What is that? 34 years. Um, there are very few times where I practice and I don't feel in some ways always better after I practice. But the journey to get me to practice that day, or, like there's always things that I resist on certain levels, right? But when I am practicing well, I almost always feel the sunshine better, right? In the rest of my life. Like it's very rare that when I actually practice, you might have a hiccup here and there in a practice, but over time you're trending towards the fact that there's a party, right? There's a party. If you get yoga, like the color of this shirt, there's a party that waits for you that doesn't, you have to earn to get there, right? Because life has sun and shade, right? That's part of what is the magic of it, is the transitions. So have you ever also noticed that some of you, especially early on in your yoga practice, so some of you are on the early part of your arc, and for a while it's just so great and it's always great, and then you want to tell it you want to convince your friends and family that maybe they should try yoga or how transformative it is, and you try to tell the story and they kind of look at you like, oh, okay, when you're actually wearing a tie-dye shirt underneath it all, but they can't hear the story in a way that allows you to convey what's happening. So there's always, unless someone's practicing and has been through the iterations of practice, they can't really, they kind of patronize you, go, oh, that's great for you. Isn't that great? You're practicing yoga. Isn't that sweet? And they almost pat you on the head and go, that's so great. You live with a disability and you practice yoga? And you're actually color bursting on the inside, and it doesn't translate to the outside. But in order to get to the color burst, you had to travel through a luminal space, right? That has shade in it. Because did anyone find themselves when you first started thinking that maybe you could do yoga, that you found ways your mind had old habits in your head to resist thinking that you can do yoga? Right? Oh, I can't do that. That's not for me, or that's like whatever. There are all these things that happen that come through. Hey, am I seeing a couple of these t-shirts on the call? No. Okay. There's some color bursts happening here. All right. So the idea is, how do you take the steps to where there's color? And even when you leave the color, how do you have faith that your yoga practice has color in it? And don't let anyone tell you yoga is only about having color bursts, because it's not. Right. So basically you have the 7 weeks of, in a nutshell, of what the audio files are through lyrics of really good songs. I kind of want to share them all with you already, but I can't. I have to wait. So the beginning of, as you know, start paying attention more to your exhale, right? And let there be the dropping that's essential. What's really interesting is that I remember talking to Richard Freeman. He studied Sama-Iyengar yoga, but he's a very advanced Ashtanga practitioner. And he read somewhere that in order for the earth to be actually fully realized, or even realized, even at a glimpse of its immensity, because the earth is actually immense. You know that, right? Relative to our little slice on it, it's actually pretty damn big. It's like you kind of get hits of it when you're by an ocean and you realize how big the ocean is, right? As opposed to a lake, and then the earth is way bigger than an ocean, and it's just like, it's crazy, right? But in some ancient texts, it talks about something has to drop down in order for the earth to come up, right? And remember, all poses come through grounding, right? So there grounding, but grounding that intersects with balance, right? So as you exhale and you allow for the drop, you're not just trying to drop, you're trying to drop so you start to hear, in the way that I don't actually mean auditorial hearing, you start to hear the rise, right? So keep exhaling. Find and in her breath, we're swimming. That's a Dave Matthews reference, right? Find the fact that the grounding actually helps you rise. And then as you keep paying attention, soften the inside of your mouth, your jaw, all the stuff that helps you feel the quiet energy. But the quiet energy doesn't just drop, it actually rises too. So on your inhalation, start to notice the rising part. But there's a constant dissipation and expansion that comes with moment to moment. And that is just amplified by your breath. In general, until you start doing more yoga, the exhalation seems like a dissipation. The inhalation feels like an expansion. So you're watching the dissipation and the expansion that literally comes with being alive from moment to moment. So try to get a sense of the earth by when you start the inhalation, there's a slight lock, very slight, don't grip, in the very low abdomen, which is part of the earth that starts your inhalation. and then it travels up and expands. But on your exhalation, you know, I make a lot of deal about this. Let the energy of exhalation extend your spine, right? So, in order to make that more apparent, on your next exhalation, exhale as if someone's gently pushing you forward on your inner edge of your shoulder blades. So you feel the earth, you lock the earth, you inhale, you spark up, you expand, and then you exhale and come more into your midline. And by the way, this ebbing and flowing has been happening in every moment that you've been alive. Your breath has been partaking in the existential metaphysic. When I notice the attentive drawing towards the midline and extension in my spine, I become more aware of the empty space in the room. That my alert spine is more responsive to the world than when I just sink. So just start to notice these things. Now, what's great about asana is you get to participate in what's happening existentially with your body. So now don't just be aware of the focus of the breath. Ground your feet, feel your feet on the floor, on your foot pedals, on your sits bones on your chair seat. Start to activate your sitting bones, make them a little sharper. As you do, notice there's an opportunity to go down through your heels, and it aids the rise in the spine. Keep exhaling from the back ribs. Become more aware of the space between the shoulders and your ears. Drop the skin from the base of the neck down towards the tailbone. All these things amplify your congruence. You're still centering. If it doesn't dislodge you too much, you can bring your hands into prayer into the midline. This being an outer manifestation of your spine. So I've got my elbows on the table and my hands together. So I'm on balance. So I'm not off balance. So don't bring your hands together if it throws you off balance. You want the emptiness of your mouth as a cave. You want your spine firing up with life, lifting it skyward. You want dropping your shoulder blades to feel the earth. You want your sitting bones dropping, but you want a succulent energy on the inner upper groin to drop down in and down towards the earth as your chest and rib cage opens outward. All this happens and your midline stays sturdy. Balance your head over your neck. Be here now in a way that includes your body. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. If you need to repose, repose. If you need to start again, that's the thing about yoga. It allows you to start again, moment to moment. It never denies you access. and then release. Take your hands down to your thighs, take your sternum up towards your chin down over your sternum. So think about that. Your hands go down. You're dropping. The palms are up. You're rising. Your sternum is going up. Your chin is dropping. All this would be amplified if you're broadening the space between your shoulder blades. If you're allowing an expansion across your sacrum. All these things, and you're breathing. So much was going on. You're just trying to get your mind to receive in asana. Your mind was never alone. Good. And then raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. Kind of only because you're my class, I'm going to start tipping you up. One of the songs that I'm going to use is In the Colors by Ben Harper, which talks about finding the colors that happen at dusk. Right? Think about dusk, right? In any kind of like that's the space between worlds, right? Right. So it's kind of a magical time, space in the dusk. But he's singing about finding the colors in the dusk. And if you notice that inward, when you go inward, close your eyes and go inward, it's kind of like dark in there. But in there, there's still colors, right? So the intersection between the inward energy that's kind of darker or quieter and the outer expression of asana is where you're trying to find colors, right? So again, let's go back to feeling your feet, your sitting bones, lift your sternum if you can bring your hands into the midline, right? So when you start to activate the tendency, so one of the ideas that I've been trying to get across for a couple years in here is that when you activate, if you use too much will, you'll block the colors, the full potential of the colors, right? If you don't use any will, you won't feel them. It'll stay gray. It'll stay dusk, right? So as you bring your hands into prayer, and all this precision is to actually help you to find the colors, find potential in what might just feel like there's no content. So your body is the burst of color. Your inhale amplifies the color. Your exhale deepens the color. Good. And then release. I'm always astounded when I center well. I'm always astounded about how much I take for granted. Right? Like, oh my God, I was hearing just a fraction of the story. Just a fraction. And the fact that I feel only a fraction of the story, even when I'm centering well, doesn't make me feel inadequate. That's your bullshit mind trying to keep you away from the practice. Start moving around because your mind turns out to be a little scared of what's empty, right? Oh, don't make me go in there. I don't know where I am. I don't know how I am. But remember, your body already knows where you are in space, and your nervous system is wired to help you know where you fit in space. That's why you have skin and bones and muscles, right? So I'm moving around because I want to lighten this energy. I don't want to feel like, oh my God, I'm only getting a fraction of the pie. I'm only a narrow fraction of the pie. Welcome to the human condition, man. If you limit, and they take your legs away, if you limit your practice or your awareness of yoga that you think it has to be knowledge, oh my God, you've made the pie really narrow, right? it's about experience. It's about seeing dimension in your experience. As I'm moving around and feeling changes in my spine, this isn't knowledge. This is experience. Experience reveals dimension, not knowledge. Human beings, man, they missed the boat on this. Except pursuing knowledge is maybe the best thing we do. Going back and forth now. I'm changing gravity, going like, ooh, that changes stuff. Right? As I come forward, better grab my foot pedals, so I stay balanced, but I'm moving through space and I'm moving around because, ooh, I almost let out another song. There's a great song by, I love the name of this band, Michael Franti and Spearhead. That's his band. I love that, right? But I think one of the songs I'm going to pick is The Sound of Sunshine Coming Down. Now, I love that phrase. What's the sound of sunshine, right? Yeah, and he thinks it's music and dancing by the beach. I think it might be movement. My body can move. And that's the sound of sunshine coming down. So I'm moving around, right? Making circles now because why wouldn't you make circles? Aren't you happy about the person that first started making snow angels in the snow? I think I'll lay here and then I think I'll just move and I'll make movement here. Right? And so you go in one way and then you got to go the other way. Now, as you're coming forward and you're moving in a circle, are you modulating it with the presence on each foot? The feeling in each sitting bone? What are you doing, right? So I'm going to speed it up here a little bit because in a second, I'm going to, with the movement of momentum, I'm going to pop my spine. Right? So my forearm's on my leg, my backhand's on my hip. Right? I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to pop my spine. Leapfrog. Right? So we do this kind of warm up every week, every Monday, because you need this the whole week. So now I'm going to watch the difference, go back to the momentum, right? Right? And all of a sudden, pop, back to momentum, pop into structure, right? Back and forth. Laura, you're not moving enough. You're having some reason not to do it. Makes me mad. Bust it up. So now when you go up, make sure you're going down through your feet. Up, right? Now bring your legs back together. I could bust anyone. There are a whole bunch of people I just trust I can bust Laura. A whole bunch of you are just sitting there going, he's just talking. I don't really need to do this. I just need to listen. I'm calling you on it. I want to call a couple of newbies on the call on the table on the carpet, but I'm not gonna because I'm too nice. So now sit up straight and tall. So now put your mind here in the sternum, raise that towards the sun, drop the shoulder blades, lengthen the back of the neck. Don't drop your chin. Lift the sternum to meet the lengthening back of the neck. That would be shoulder stand. Don't tell anybody, right? This lifts and the back of the neck lengthens. And then inhale. And from anchoring here and on the backside, from here and the backside, turn your head, right? So you're doing it from your sternum, front and back of your sternum, and then go the other way, right? So I have to re-get my balance because this way my spine does something different. So you got to figure out what that means in your pose, right? Anchor front and back, turn my head, turn the world. I'm not just turning my head. When I include my spine, I'm turning the world, right? Be in the center, go the other way. Now this time, I'm going to grab the seat between underneath this chair seat between my legs. I'm going to take the arm behind me, but I'm going to stay upright. Right. So I've already started a bigger twist by moving my arms. Right. But now I'm going to keep the same presence here. Right. The same midline. And I'm going to turn my head. But I'm going to watch the turn of my head echo through my alert spine. Right. So my head is an expression of my spine, even though my spine isn't turning as much. And then going the other way, then do it the other way, right? Because if I can auger the midline, right, keep it grounded with the earth, I can just move my head and get more of the twist. But you got to move your head connected to your spine. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm getting the front and back of my sternum. I'm going down to my sitting bones and my feet, and I'm just turning my head. But I'm trying to watch the reflection of turning my head all the way through my spine. Good, and then come back to center. So when you twist, right, it becomes this big macro movement, right? And you twist your whole spine. We're about to do it more of a whole twist of your spine, right? And you do this macro movement, but then you forget all these little pieces that when one parts of your spine turn, when your head turns, which is part of your spine, it's like a shadow flying overhead. A shadow flies right through your spine just because your head's turning, right? But when you do the whole big twist, let's do the whole big twist, the big macro twist that everyone thinks is more yoga. Inhale, take your arm up. Exhale, take your arm to the other side. Do the big twist. Like, oh, it was all about my spine, but I totally missed the bird flying overhead, right? Of the subtlety of it. But I get to use my will more. God damn it, I get to crank more. I like it. I feel like I'm doing more yoga, which in some ways I am, in some ways I'm not. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve, right? Go back to center, right? All these subtleties for the birds, except maybe that's where the sun's shining. Maybe it's in the subtlety, right? Inhale, go up, right? You want to find the colors in the dusk, and then exhale, revolve. And you can do the bigger one, right? You're going to go like the one that you like to do. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. It's easier for your mind. Your mind knows where it is in space. It doesn't have to work so hard. You get to let the outer body lead the pose. But then you get some instructions like drop the shoulder blades, spread the space between the shoulder blades, hit down through the sitting bones, hit down to the feet, take the right side, the right part of the rib cage, move it back towards the right hip. I can give you all these things that your mind gets to squeeze. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. This is good. This is going to have more physical benefit than the subtle. And then come on back to center. Lift up a little bit, because when you squeeze hard like that, you tend to compress the vertebrae in your spine. But now I want you to move, because I want you to be able to see the shadow when you turn your head, right? And that takes awareness of space. I'm bouncing up and down because the rhythm and the traction makes me feel the space that drops in order for me to know the earth, right? Back to center. So now we're going to do that damn subtle one again. God damn it. Grab the chair seat between your legs, take the other hand behind you, right? So, but now you're going to lift the sternum up, hit down, find the midline more, right? And then you're just going to turn your head. But as you turn your head, anchored here, down through your sitting bones, watch the shadow go through your whole spine, right? Okay. So then come back to center. And now from this position, try to keep that subtlety. We're going to do the hard physical one, right? But I'm going to keep my hand between in the midline, but I'm going to make it more physical, but I'm going to try to keep the shadow turning. So ground, broaden between the shoulder blades, hit down through your sitting bones, down through your feet, lift the sternum up, inhale, But as I'm starting to be able to get more traction on my outer body, I'm trying to watch the inner body. Inhale, lift up, exhale, move the whole spine, not just your head. Right? But you're trying to differentiate your head moving, C1 moving from the rest of your spine. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Right? And then come on back to center. Remember the atlas vertebrae, when you first start going to a chiropractor, if you've ever done that, they'll adjust at the top one because it's an energetic linchpin to the entire body. I don't like chiropractors, but maybe you do, right? Okay, so now we're going to go to grab the seat in the midline, take the other arm over here. Already my outer body, my mind wants to go, come on, let me twist, let's get to the water park, right? Right? So, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to have discipline here. I'm going to feel the base. I'm going to go down through my sitting pose, lift my lower abdomen slightly up to feel my heels. I'm going to like do all that. And then I'm just going to move my head. And I'm going to watch the movement. And you have to keep your chin back. Balance your head over your neck when you just move your chin, when you just move your head. And watch it go through your entire body at the subtle level. Good. And then release. Now you're about to let your mind get its claws into the pose and your will, right? But you're trying to keep the imprint of the colors in the dusk as you move, right? So I'm going to grab the midline again. I'm going to put you where your arm makes sense. I'm grabbing my wheel. I'm hitting down. I know I'm going to move my head. So I know what that shadow crossing me looks like, but then I'm going to make it more physical. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, revolve as I turn my head, right? So I'm trying to get it all. Take the right rib cage back towards the left hip, hit down. Lift up, broaden between the shoulder blades, but still try to watch the movement. And so I'm going to move my head back because I missed it. I'm going to now be in the twist and watch my head move. And watch how it adds some of the beautiful subtlety of the twist. Good. And then come on back to center. Be in the center. Was anyone, thumbs up, thumbs down, able to feel the difference between twisting your whole torso and just your head? Right? Okay. So remember, one of the lines that blew my mind in the first year I was doing yoga was from B.K. Sangar, and he said, when my body's one, my mind shatters. I'm using shatters. He says, my mind breaks into pieces, right? So when I don't differentiate parts of my body, when he said, then my mind has to break and use too much will. I have to like squeeze some shit more than other shit, and I have to do a whole bunch of stuff, right? When my body's in pieces, my mind can be one, right? So in a way, all we're doing with these two different twists is trying to get you to separate turning your head and see one from differentiating from the center of your chest. So you get, and he calls, when my body's in pieces, my mind can be one, he calls that freedom. So when you see a beginner in a yoga pose, wanting to succeed, wanting to do yoga well, and moving the whole thing, if I just go a little bit farther and I clench my jaw and I hold my breath, the teacher's going to think I'm a good student and I'm doing more yoga, right? Because I would say that's not freedom. Freedom resides in being able to keep that C1 twisting separately from T456, separately from L123. Freedom is in the subtlety, not in the grip. All right, lift up again. So we're trying to get more space, right? So we're trying to get that traction in our back, because have you noticed, right, that the sitting's the new smoking, because there's compression right at the crease at the top of your hips, right? So one of the ways we're getting this, I'm jumping, I'm like getting the length in my spine again and the movement. So when I'm doing it by lifting up, I'm trying to get the movement and the traction to go together. And so then if I want to add my breath, inhale, exhale on the compression. So I started getting more of me when I'm able to differentiate, I will have the opportunity for more freedom, right? So now this idea of getting this, I'm going to jump a little bit, like, yeah, because that I like jumping. I remember like that little bit of like, hey, there's some fun here, right? Because it's going to get locked down in dog pose. But you're trying to get, so bring your hands on your table or on your thighs, right? Right? It could be down like this. You could be doing it like this, right? You're trying to activate, but when you start working hard in dog pose, so as soon as I go down and spread my palms, because I've done enough yoga, the center of my chest starts to bloom, right? There's a color burst right there. I roll my inner upper arm up as I press down to my index mount. I'm just trying to make the colors be organized, but I'm going to hit down through my sitting bones, and I'm using all this focus, right? And then release. But I want to make sure that focus doesn't cover up the bounce, right? So I'm reminding my mind when it starts to use the instructions to clarify, for the clarifying instructions, not to cover up parts of the pose. Now I'm coming back here. I'm going to smile before I start, because as soon as my wheel starts going, I'm going to F this up, right? Just a little bit. So I'm going to keep that feeling of the colors and the sunshine, because I know it's there, even though my mind's going to cover it up, because that's what minds do, right? And I'm going to ground down, activate, hit my sitting bones into the chair, right? Get the length in my spine, spread my shoulder blades, roll my inner upper thighs in and down, feel where my feet are, and now stretch out the top of my head as I drop my shoulder blades. And then I'm going to breathe into the structure. Prana follows consciousness more than it follows breath. Asana creates structure. Good, and then release. Back to the bounce. Don't forget the bounce, for God's sakes. I don't want my will and my focused mind, right, to cover up the potential of my organism, right? Because mental focus has to narrow the world. Dharana, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, isn't just mental focus. It isn't just mental concentration. It's letting every skin cell touch the air while you're moving your muscles. I'm going to go one way and I'm going to open. A lot of you like to stop at just the sunshine part, right? Oh, yeah, this feels good. Yeah, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having this be part of the pose. So you're going back and forth, going, yeah, and then you start using better rhythm. You're like, I'm going to go back down, grab my opposite knee, go to my elbow, and then go up. And all of a sudden I start adding just a little bit of precision. But as soon as my arm goes up, I want to make sure I'm feeling my sitting bones in my feet, right? So we're doing a version of what we did to separate the neck from the sternum. We're watching movements touch the empty space in the whole body and then activating through the touched empty space. So I'm not just moving my arm here. So when I start wavering it now, because we've been practicing, I can feel the reverberations in my leg. Can you? Yeah, you can. Pay attention. There's literal vibration too. Like as I'm moving my arm up and down here, I can feel it reverberate in the center of my bladder, right? And down to my feet. Why? Because I've been connecting my empty spaces. Because that's the sound of sunshine. So I'm moving it, trying to feel the reverberation. Ooh, I was crunching it in my neck, right? I was getting too focused again. So I want to like lengthen my neck and still move and feel the whole thing. And when I get more awareness in my neck that's lengthened, this gets louder in the rest of my body. Good, and then release. Holy cow. Man, that's a little bit too much truth for me, right? So I'm gonna like move around again, you know? There's like, there's a lot of truth here. Doesn't it piss you off that truth doesn't tell you what to do? It's just an invitation. I'm gonna go into dog pose because I don't know what to do right now. I'm just trying to like let it all in here. It's not gonna be a hard focus dog pose. It's a transitional dog pose. So if I can get my legs to differentiate between from that to my torso, right? If I can get that space more open, so I'm gonna take my legs wide because it's that crease, even in a traditional yoga pose, if you were a full walking yogi, right? If you were Bethany and I was like cracking on Bethany's poses, right? The way a teacher can, right? Right? Almost everyone's dull at the transition between their top of their femur bone and their torso, right? So I'm actually grabbing on my legs and moving my spine. I'm pulling my legs away and I'm opening my sternum, but I'm trying to get that crease at the top of my legs more open, right? Energetically open, if not physically, right? Because I want that space ends up being really important. So now when I'm moving in the circle and I'm pressing on my leg with my forearm and hitting back on the back leg, I'm being more cognizant of getting that crease open, not just my sternum lifting, but the crease open. So now I'm doing this, kind of doing little like mini kegels, right? I'm trying to like hit down and lift up, but I'm thinking about that crease. Now I'm going the other way, right? Hitting down, I'm going a couple quick reps in there because I want that to work. And then I'm going to bring my legs back together. And I'm going to pull out on my legs, right? I was about to do a back bend. So I'm pushing out this way, but I'm trying to like not just lift my chest too quick. I'm trying to get that feeling back and forth about thinking about opening that space at the top of my hips, right? And then I'm going to give myself a little aid. I'm going to stick my hand under my rump or behind me. Maybe you can do both at a time. I'm going to go from the back and I'm just going to use the back of my hand and push that tailbone. So I know this sounds goofy, but desperate times require goofy measures. So I'm going to push on that with the back of my hand like that. And I'm going to try to catch it in my mouth. Right? Like, what the hell are you talking about, Willis? Right? I'm going to try to get a little jump in there, get it all the way up through my spine and catch it, make it go all the way through this space. Now I'm going to have to do the other arm, but I have to be careful because my bicep tendon, Ooh, I almost dropped an F-bomb for no good reason. It sucks. It hurts over here. So I got to be careful over here. But again, oh, it's so different over here. So I'm trying to give myself a little boost at my tailbone. First, I'm just going to have fun with it and go like that. Right. And then I'm going to try to make sure it crosses through my whole spine like the bird shadow going over the top. I'm going to try to catch it with my mouth. Oh, it worked. Oh, I like this. I'm having a little party here. So here's how I know it just started working. Because when I did it, I could actually feel my feet start to tingle. Right? If I can pay attention to all the levels. Try it again. Go to the first side. Right? Pop that up. I don't feel the tingle on this side as well. But I'm popping up the base of my spine. I'm catching it in my chest. But I'm trying to let it get to my mouth. You know how we sit all day long if you're in a wheelchair or in a chair and you get kind of heavy and compressed? I'm totally forgetting about the sound of sunshine, right? That's waiting for me right here, right? The pop, like, wait, there's a little bit of juice in there. Like it's waiting to come out. If I can just catch it with my whole spine. And so this time I'm going to push up, try to take my head back and open my mouth. What is he talking about? We're losing people. I think this class is getting too weird. People keep dropping off, for God's sakes. I'm going to go the other way. Remember, I'm trying to get the pop up through, open my mouth, take my head back. And then let it drop. So when you let it drop and you don't push on I'm more pushing on my sitting bone, right? When I don't do that, and I just do this movement, doesn't it feel dull? When I just do it with my head? Now get that reference on your tailbone and push it up a little bit, get that pop up, continue back and open your mouth. For those of you that can remember, and for Bethany, kind of makes sense why Setubandha has a block in your tailbone, right? Trying to open something up. So now I can feel the weight of my sitting bones on the back of my hands, right? So can I feel the back of my hands on my sitting bones? So now when I go to lift up this next time, I'm trying to feel that extra push that I gave to my tailbone, to my sitting bones, as I go back and forth. And then I'm catching it up through my spine. And then I'm going to jiggle and go, I think there might be sunshine in there. Yeah. And I'm going to get all this lightened for a second, and then I'm going to kind of ruin it all, but try to bring it all into a back bend. Right? Okay, here we go. The back bend that has the Mexican jumping bean at the base of my spine, the catch of the chest, the catch of the mouth, the opening of the mouth, all of it's coming right now, right? Because I'm trying to get more parts of my spine. So I'm going to come forward and get the earth. And then I'm going to go back and put my hands on my thighs. I'm going to push my hands away. And now right here, I can tell you, my habit would be to start going to my chest too fast. I would forget the jumping bean going up through that I just boosted myself. So I'm going to push my thighs away. And right here, I'm going to try to jump a couple times from my sitting bone. I'm not going to go all the way back with my head yet. I'm going to get that little jump, and I'm going to make sure that little jump gets caught by my chest. So in Urvadanyarasana, just so you know, which is upward facing bow, there are a couple adjustments you can give to someone that can do the whole pose. You can push lightly on their tailbone or lightly between the shoulder blades, trying to get it to come into focus. So you're right. And so basically, we're trying to get that adjustment in what I'm going to call Asana, upward facing bow, right? So I'm going to remind myself, in fact, I'm going to just jump a little bit because I want this last back bend to be good. And I want to catch it in my spine. I want to catch it with my mouth, right? I want to get that kind of playfulness to come through my spine, right? Then I'm going to lean against the back of my chair and put my hands on my thighs. And as I start pushing it away, I could go too fast with my spine, but instead I'm going to pause here and jump my tailbone a few times. Head down with my sitting bones and jump my lower abdomen up and try to catch it with my chest. Right? And then I'm going to come forward. And this time I'm not going to do the overt jumping, but hopefully the jumping, that just amplified the tingling in my legs for me. Right? So I'm going to go back. I'm going to do it in one fluid motion, but I'm going to try to get the tailbone jumping through my chest and then take my neck back. Go up and over the back of the chair, but jump the tailbone skyward, broaden across the collarbones. Take it through your mouth, tailbone, sternum, mouth, broaden, smiling the collarbones towards the sky. Don't lean too hard against the back of your chair. Good, and then release. Phew. Do you want to do one more or are you tuckered? One more. Faster without words. Do the whole enchilada, okay? So because we're kind of engaged in my home practice right now, you know what I want to do before I leave and go to Shavasana? I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a whole bunch of energy, opening, buoyant energy. I'm going to take my legs wide for a second because I want to remember that my legs can go out into space, right? I'm going to do a little bit of sound of sunshine, but with my tailbone and my base of my spine going out through my knees. And I'm going to add a little bit of lift here because I want this to come with me. I want this to come with me. And I want this energy to express through my legs all day long. Right? Because I don't just want to compress in my wheelchair. I don't want to have my body come into a lump. I want my body to remain in pieces so my mind can be more free. To put your hand, grab this chair seat in the middle, right? Take this behind you. But now, first, just move your head and have the head travel like a shadow. Come back, auger down, go down, lift the chest. Inhale, lift up. And as your head turns, have both the shadow and the outer body movement. When you have both, your breath will be more where it needs to be. Not too deep, not too shallow. Come on back to the center. Grab the middle the other way. Down, up. Inhale, turn. Move the head. Bring the shadow and the outer body. Come on back to center. Feel your feet, feel your sitting bones. Get ready to and put my hands on my thighs because I want more body as I come into Shavasana. Go back against the back of the chair. Now I'm just going to let myself be held up. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. The instructions write themselves, release around the temples. There's a hum. Find it in your ankles and your knees, your hips, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists. Even let go of the bones of your gums and your teeth. Keep the skin around the temples soft as you do that. Support is a form of nourishment. Feel your breath. Thank your vessel. Thank it again. Start to bring yourself back. Slight or deeper inhalation, slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes. If you need to close them again, close them again. So the mind is the interloper, right? It's the rider, the freeloader on the life of the body, right? And it's miraculous for sure. But human beings have thought it's fundamental. So take seriously when Patanjali says, slow down the oscillations of your mind. Another world reveals, right? Turns out that it's hard-earned color, right? Hands together. Namaste. Spirit in me bows the spirit in you.